Hey everybody, what's up? Larry here again with Interstellar Happenings, your source for universal news and mysteries. And today I want to discuss a new video out by Jeremy Corbell that tells the tale of a man named Jerry Freeman that once crossed over the borders of Area 51, discovering a mystery that may just back up the claims of Bob Lazar.
So he came from the other direction.
This is supposedly before S4 was built.
Well,
See,
the
that's
49ers came through before it, but
right.
he
was out there when S4 was operating.
He did his stuff when it was operating. He did it like 2 years after Bob's story came out, but he had no idea about the UFO stuff.
Now, if you don't know who Lazar is, in 1989, an anonymous man, later known as Bob Lazar, gave an interview to Las Vegas's KLAS TV news network about his purported employment at Area 51. George Knapp, an investigative journalist, is largely responsible for bringing Lazar's story to the public's attention.
Tonight, in part 5 of his report, George Knapp introduces us to a local man with an amazing and disturbing story. George.
Gary and Mary Ruth, we've been working on this story for a long time, and we'll tell you right up front that it's going to be hard to swallow at first. This week, we've heard the contention of UFO researchers that there's a secret government within our government. While that may be hard to believe coming from the UFO perspective, we've certainly learned in Watergate and the Iran-Contra scandal that factions within our government can and do pursue their own hidden agendas outside of the law, outside the control of Congress, or the knowledge of the American people. This is exactly the type of operation we'll hear about tonight. It's a chilling scenario with worldwide implications that may have its roots right here.
Lazar told Knapp that he was a physicist working at S4, a lab in the Groom Lake area. Area 51 at this time had not been officially acknowledged by the US government. In UFOlogy, Robert Bob Scott Lazar is the most polarizing figure in the controversy about Area 51 and the existence of aliens and UFOs. A shadowy figure who claims to have had astounding tales about UFOs and government cover-ups. Interviews with Lazar revealed that he had discussed a program attempting to reverse engineering alien spacecraft at the S4 hangar, located close to Area 51 33 years ago.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
Despite numerous inquiries and feelers, Dennis has remained anonymous until now. His real name is Robert Lazar, a young scientist with eclectic interests. The choice of Dennis was an inside joke. He says that's the name of his superior at Groom Lake. It wasn't a joke to Dennis.
He called right after and he said, "Do you have any idea what we're going to do to you now?" And I said, "Well, no." And he hung up the phone.
Some of the ships Lazar described as ancient findings during archaeological digs. As the interviews progressed, Lazar elaborated on how the hangars at Papoose Lake, located approximately 17 miles south of Groom Lake, were deliberately built at a deceptive angle, and how the military had attempted to disguise these installations.
The bus, what do you see?
It's a very interesting building. It's got a slope of probably about 30 degrees, which are hangar doors. And it has textured paint on it, but it looks like sand. It's made to look like the side of the mountain that it's in, whether it's to disguise it from satellite photographs or what.
Suspicion surrounded him because he did not provide or could not share evidence to back up his claims. But Papoose Lake, a dried up lake bed found just a few kilometers southwest of Area 51, confirmed Lazar's claims concerning S4. Since then, Lazar's status as a scientist at Area 51 has been a hot topic of much debate among UFOologists, since Lazar could not prove his qualifications.
Checking out Lazar's credentials proved to be a difficult task. He says he earned degrees in physics and electronics, but the schools we contacted say they've never heard of him. He also said he worked as a physicist at Los Alamos National Lab, where he experimented with one of the world's largest particle beam accelerators, a half-mile-long behemoth capable of generating 700 million volts. Los Alamos officials told us they had no records of a Robert Lazar ever working there. They were either mistaken or were lying. A 1982 phone book from the lab lists Lazar right there among the other scientists and technicians. A 1982 clipping from the Los Alamos newspaper profiled Lazar and his interest in jet cars. It too mentioned his employment at the lab as a physicist. We called Los Alamos again, An exasperated official told us he still had no records on Lazar.
Many people see this as an attack on his credibility, but trustworthy authorities have corroborated Lazar's claims about his time at Area 51. George Knapp claimed to have met with former co-workers of Bob's and confirmed that he was a physicist, but these statements were made off record and were not included to any kind of official documentation, so none of these could be backed up until now. A video of Knapp discussing a real-life account of an archaeologist's journey through Area 51, supplying astonishing details that could back up Lazar's allegations about hidden doorways and mysterious structures near Papoose Lake, presenting shocking evidence that supports Lazar's claims. It goes back to 1998. The Los Angeles Times published an article headlined "A Search on Forbidden Ground," which claimed that an archaeologist named Jerry Freeman has sneaked into the restricted area of Area 51 on his way to retrace the footsteps of the lost 49ers.
This guy is an archaeologist. His name is Jerry Freeman, and he had an idea. He wanted to track the history of the 49ers, the groups of settlers who came across the country in 1849 to get to the California goldfields. So he had a unique idea. He infiltrated the Nevada test site from the south and the west and traveled all the way across it. He sneaked across it, avoiding security, knew he was trespassing, but he would travel at night and hide under rocks and in caves during the day. He made it all the way up to Papoose Lake.
It is believed that only Freeman, a civilian, has gotten access to the location where Bob Lazar claimed to have been part of this secret military station. Mr. Knapp told Corbell himself that he had talked with Freeman, who had no idea what flying saucers even were, as well as Bob Lazar and John Lear.
This was in, the story is 1997, so it's after the Bob Lazar story has come out. This guy has no idea about Bob Lazar. He has no idea about flying saucers. He's not into that.
During his interview with Knapp, he stated that while trespassing inside the borders of Area 51, he had seen clear perimeter security lights and blinking lights in the lake's center. Freeman also claimed strong vibrations from beneath the surface, claiming sand was falling on the other side, so he knew he wasn't seeing things when he felt these vibrations. He says he was out all night long at Papoose, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a door opens up.
And in his story, and I inherited a lot of his files, he says he was out at night by Papoose, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a door opens up. I mean, like just a door in space, a light, a bluish light that opened up, a doorway to who knows where, and then poof, it was gone.
A door in space to who knows where.
So there's some shit going on out at S4 that is way beyond our imagination.
Yeah, and this guy, like I said, not a UFO guy.
Dreamland.
Completely different adventure.
Here's the video of Freeman talking about this incident.
It looked like a dry lake bed to me, nothing else.
Well, that's what
But
it
at
is.
night, it was a different story.
What did you see?
I could clearly see what were security lights on the perimeters, and I could see lights that opened and closed near the center of the lake. I felt vibration. I know I wasn't imagining it because there were rivulets of sand coming down just on the other side of this little wash, and I could see them. And I thought, well, hey, an earthquake. Well, then I realized, no, this is not an earthquake. It continued and continued for maybe nearly 2 minutes. It's something they're testing, either directly underground, or I was feeling vibrations completely from Groom Lake. I don't know. I think if they'd have caught me in there, they'd lit me up like a Roman candle.
But as Corbell points out during this video, many individuals actually like to say that Freeman never reported seeing anything weird at Papoose Lake. His trip was uneventful and his story cast doubt on what Bob Lazar informed us. And unfortunately, as he traversed the Nevada test site,
He ran into pockets of radiation and contracted cancer and died. Nonetheless, a lot of his files, a lot of his footage, his home video is here. I got it. It's a great story.
so we may never know the full extent as to what happened to Freeman out there in the desert. But what do you guys think? The interview you heard here today, does that back up Bob Lazar's claims? Or are they just words of a man who knew more than what he would admit to? Hit me up in the comments below, and don't forget, make sure to like and help me break this YouTube suffocating algorithm by sharing this video everywhere you can. And don't forget to subscribe now for more interstellar happenings.